In the year 2002, the greatest piece of cinema was released to the public. Kung Pao, Enter the Fist. But they never made a Kung Pao video game, and I want to talk about video games. Well, Spider-Man had a video game. Man, I've loved Spider-Man ever since I was a kid. If there were any childhood pictures of me that survived the flood, then I'd probably have some sort of Spider-Man themed merchandise somewhere in the picture. He's such an easy character to get. What's not to get? Then, of course, they made a movie. Took several attempts, but one day the stars aligned and Sam Raimi got a Spider-Man movie out in theaters. Boy howdy, I remember seeing this movie the day it came out. Is it a 10 out of 10? No, of course not. It's a perfectly serviceable film. But it's got the nostalgia factor involved, and we all know nostalgia is a dirty bitch. I have plenty of great memories with this movie, so it gets more praise from me than it honestly deserves. Spider-Man 2, however, 10 out of 10. Fight me, I love everything about Spider-Man 2. It has an entire subplot where the entirety of it is Spider-Man losing his powers and not doing a single goddamn Spider-Man themed activity for maybe 30% of the film, and it still gripped me and my donkey brain 12-year-old self from beginning to end. It easily goes on my top favorite movies list, and that list has Kung Pao Enter the Fist on it, so you know it's a mighty fine list. Spider-Man 3 taught me to temper my expectations. I was suckered into the hype of this being the best movie ever, and I mean, I like it. I probably won't watch it again until like the 20th anniversary when I get the sudden urge to watch it again. But I just feel like it gets too much hate. It has a 6.3 on IMDb, a 63% on Rotten Tomatoes. This is the most accurate rating a movie has ever gotten. Not underrated, not overrated, just rated. And Spider-Man 4's cancellation still brings a tear to my eye and taught me all good things must come to an end. Now, don't get me wrong, I'd love to talk about these movies for the next hour and a half, but I'm not intelligent enough to talk about movies. Video games are more up my alley. And boy, did Spider-Man get some games. Now, anyone who grew up before the PS4 and the Xbox One can tell you, you can't make a big Hollywood movie without a big movie tie-in game. That's how it used to be, not anymore. Game development was just easier back then before we made the switch to high-definition graphics. Used to be you could just pop out a game in a year and a half. Put some actual effort into it, and you can make something that's actually good. Nowadays, if you say, make this game in a year and a half from a major studio, you're gonna have a bad time. Looking back at the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie tie-in games, man, I need a way to shorten that. I always have had a soft spot for Spider-Man 2. Just like the movie, I legitimately like this game. Of the 3 games, this is the one that I played the most. I think I remember playing it last back in 2019 when I got a new GameCube because boy oh boy is nostalgia a powerful bitch. The first game, I don't remember playing that in the 2010s at all. Spider-Man 3? I beat it in the weekend I got it and never touched it again. You see, I still own these 3 because back in the day, I used to have a decent GameCube and Wii collection, then everything just disappeared. These 3 are the only survivors. Oh, and Star Fox! So I just keep them around because they're all that remains of my childhood game collection. At least now that I've been rebuilding my collection over the last couple of years, I don't have to have Spider-Man 3 for the Wii stinking up my search history on eBay. So I decided, what the hell? They're the games that survived my game manuals are worthless. Just let them disappear into the void of time and space phase. I might as well make my first video about these games and revisit them. First up is Spider-Man on the GameCube. This was never my favorite of the bunch, obviously, so I actually harvested this game's case and used it to make my copy of Metroid Prime 2 look presentable. So we're in for a laugh riot here. Okay, fine. I don't think highly of this game, but I always did have an attachment to it. I mean, it's a video game based on one of my favorite childhood movies, and it has Bruce Campbell.
Your compass will point straight towards your next objective. Up on the compass means forward to you. You follow me? Well, stop following me or I'll have you arrested.
Correction. It has Bruce Campbell held at gunpoint. Well, Bruce Campbell at his worst is still better than the rest of us at our best, so it's not a big loss here. After that, we finally get the game. The first level of this game is actually one of the more interesting ones. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is up to you. As you can see right here, Spider-Man's webs just shoot up into the heavens above, so you know web swinging isn't going to be one of this game's positives. This mission is simple. You're trying to find your Uncle Ben's killer. Now, while the movie just did this with a short little car chase, the game decided that you need to go from rooftop to rooftop where these gang members just hang out. Because that's right, they decided to take that nameless carjacker and focus 3 whole missions on hunting him down just to pad out the game. I only say this is an interesting level because this level tried to add a side mission. You see, you find this woman being harassed on a rooftop, you beat up these thugs attacking her, and she tells you she lost her purse on another rooftop. The game even points out how silly this sounds. Just letting you know, being self-aware and pointing out your own mistakes does not make something better. It's almost like they started programming this and thought, hey, maybe side missions in a linear game isn't a good way for us to use our resources, so they intentionally point out how she lost her purse on a rooftop, several blocks away, ends up on another rooftop, just to get attacked by thugs. I'm just glad they realized this was a bad idea before we got to the level where we're fighting the Green Goblin and a little kid just shows up and goes, hey Spider-Man, I lost my toy in the Bronx, can you go grab it for me? Now it's time for the game to drop in quality. That's right, indoor missions. The next 2 missions are spent in this old warehouse hunting the carjacker. That's right, the nameless carjacker. Okay, why is this a drop in quality, you might ask? The missions taking place indoors in this game are typically remembered for being, what's the word? Oh yeah, terrible. Now I'm not going to harp on it too much because, well, just about every professional review harps on the controls for indoor missions. So I'll just give a brief explanation for those who don't want to read those reviews and haven't played this game. Ahem. When you play the first level, the controls are acceptable. Why? You're web swinging, of course. You won't notice the problems here. But once you're indoors and you realize that you're going to be walking and running from here on out, I don't know how to describe the feeling, but the best way for me to describe it is you're walking normally, but the second the camera shifts around, even the slightest, you're still locked in the direction you were moving. You have to come to a complete stop, and then you can go back to playing normally. It doesn't sound so bad when I say it out loud like that. It actually sounds pretty minor. But when you play it, oh, I hate this game. You know what? Screw it. I will harp on it. One of the worst part of it, the camera. The camera happens. The camera doesn't know what to do the second you go inside a building. It essentially gets overwhelmed and just starts acting on its own. And guess what? Now you know my pain. I personally just hated this mission as a kid because I always thought that since it had some stealth elements at the beginning that it was a stealth mission, and I hated stealth missions as a kid. Yes, not a problem with the game itself and more of a me problem. That's why I'm owning up to that right now. When I was a kid, I had a severe case of donkey brain and never played stealth properly. If I wasn't so stupid back then, I would see that stealth was only an option and I would have ran through it immediately. Instead, I got angry after getting my cover blown twice, slammed my controller down, and played something else. Funnily enough, it turns out the level was actually pretty easy. I was just an extraordinarily stupid child. Next level doesn't even bother trying a stealth objective, it's just level 2 again, but more gunfire. Instead of extra objectives, level 3 just says, bust some heads open and go get your Uncle Ben's killer. At least the boss battle against your Uncle Ben's killer isn't too difficult. Hey, how about you shut up? I'm playing on a harder difficulty, and I haven't played this game in over a decade. I mean, it's not hard when you realize that shotguns are bad, but after committing manslaughter, it's time for the real game to begin. Now is the time for greatness. Did I say greatness? No, I meant mediocrity. So yeah, we finally get to the part of the game where Spider-Man is, Spider-Man. So, quick fact, movie tie-in games don't sound fun to make. You gotta make sure an entire video game, those products that are a miracle that even get finished in the first place? Yeah, well, now you have to get it out in a year or two, maybe less, in a time period where it was getting significantly more difficult to pump out games in a single year. So we get to the fun part of the Spider-Man games, waiting to get to the actual Spider-Man movie plot. So in this level, we're introduced to the best they can do to make an early 2000s PS2 era Willem Dafoe. So, in an attempt to pad out this game until they introduce the Green Goblin, halfway through, we get an original storyline where Oscorp, for some reason, is trying to capture Spider-Man and uses DNA to make their own super soldier serum, I think. I'll just let Dr. Strom, who has more dialogue in this game than in the movie, explain it.
Yes, Mr. Osborn, as that video showed, Spider-Man possesses all the attributes our project hopes to create. We hypothesize that he has augmented spider DNA in his system and feel certain that an analysis of his blood will enable us to complete our serum. We can modify the hunter-killers to track this DNA signature and capture Spider-Man.
Do it.
What about this level, you might ask? Well, you take pictures for J. Jonah Jameson, that lovable boss that we'll surely see later in the game. Oh, and then you fight these death robots. They weren't in the movie, but I'm not sure if they would have made the movie better or worse if they were actually in it. Luckily, the game's gonna get better from here on out. I'm just joking, the next 4 levels are exclusively indoors. 1 second, I'm gonna go crack open some beers first. So now we get to the part that I actually like about these movie time games, at least the first 2, is how they pad out the movie and give the game some more things to do. Sure, I'd like to have a scene where you have to beat up an old lady with a stick to get some cranberries, but I'll manage with this. Instead of, say, dragging a 5-minute chase scene into a 3-level introduction, they now drag out the story by introducing some villains that weren't in the movie, consisting of Shocker, Vulture, and Scorpion. You know what? I don't care what anyone else says. No one else really cares about Shocker, but I always loved Shocker as a kid. I always just thought he was so cool.
I'm the Shocker. I tell you not to forget it, but you won't be around long enough to worry about that.
Please don't take opinions of young donkey-brained me seriously. He liked Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Let me just rapid fire these next 2 levels. Neither of them are pretty good, so you'll thank me later. This level's only cool because you can do this. This next level sucks because it's in a sewer, and now the enemies learn to block. Now your punch combos won't work, and now you need to learn some more. Oh yeah, there's a lot of cool moves you could learn here. As you can see, I personally just use the same 3 combos because this game's only about 3 hours long, and I don't have the heart to learn more combos. Oh yeah, the first actual boss battle. This time it's more forgiving if you get destroyed by Shocker, since he's not the forgettable carjacker who doesn't even have a name. Oh, would you look at that, it turns out his name was Dennis. As for the boss fight itself, well, the camera fights you harder than Shocker does. I think one of the only things to really give you a challenge here is, this is not a great place for a boss battle like Shocker. Yeah, he's not a great villain, but even a boss battle like Shocker can be memorable if you actually put him somewhere where, I don't know, there's more than just a few subway trains here. So, the strategy to Shocker, and most of the villains in this game actually, is jump in the air and spam the web button. It just eats through their health in no time. Now we hunt down Vulture, you know, a villain who flies. So naturally we're going to have an indoor level for this one, but I actually like this one. Yes, we haven't been outside in this game since level 4, but this level at least gives you some more movement possibilities. Does it make it easier? Hell no, you still gotta fight these damn controls in the camera the whole time. But then the Vulture just attacks you with this floating pillar that just swings like a pendulum for no reason. And oh sweet buttery Jesus, I see the sky, fresh air, we're outside baby. Anyways, you chase down Vulture. If he gets away from you, you should probably play a different game. Now, we actually have to fight the Vulture. But first, there's a new combo at the top of the Chrysler building, and I want it. They just gotta get it before Vulture decides to take the only win he can ever get. Also, you see that? It's lightning. Get to the top just as it strikes. You're dead. Anyways, my strategy of fighting Vulture: jump in the air and spam the web button. Also, jump on his back and just punch him in the back of the head repeatedly. Congratulations, you just beat up a geriatric old man. So now we go back inside. Except now I have to protect Scorpion from these weird robot spiders. I like throwing the cars though, that's always fun. Scorpion's crazy, so you have to go fight him now. I don't even care anymore. Next level has the Green Goblin, so that means this game is almost over. I'm just really tired of playing this game, and I'm really tired of talking about it right now. Well, we made it to the halfway point. Now, we finally get the Green Goblin, for most of the rest of the game actually. Of course, my favorite part of the movie is when the Goblin makes his grand entrance to the world. So I might be a tad biased here when I say the level where he attacks the parade might just be my favorite level. You don't actually fight him too much here. You have this one scene where you have to save Mary Jane, or just let her die for funsies. Though, my favorite part is this cutscene right here. Yeah, while you're flirting with Mary Jane, I'm pretty sure people just got killed by that balloon. Like I said, you don't really fight him here. Punch him 2 times, do the airweb spam trick, and he flies off and pulls an old vulture and just tries to kill everybody. Now, maybe I'm just giving this level some slack, because I just really missed web swinging around the city, as I've been stuck indoors for nearly half the game now. Though, one thing I really found amusing is when you swing too low to the ground, it'll trigger dialogue between bystanders on the street and Spider-Man, so you get gems like this dense bitch telling Spider-Man to go get a job while he's currently fighting the Green Goblin. Alright, full disclaimer, I've been to New York once. I fully believe that someone would actually have the gall to tell Spider-Man to go get a job while he's fighting the supervillains. Next level is actually good, because it's a straightforward fight against the Green Goblin. Jump on his glider, punch him several times, and then you have to take a part in a good old fist fight. And for the first time, I'm having genuine fun because the Green Goblin gives you a good challenge, especially on harder difficulties. My advice for fighting the Green Goblin? Try not to get too close, because he'll give you the worst titty twister of your life. Next level is not great. You have to disarm bombs and... disarm bombs. Alright, listen, 15 minutes is too long to be talking about the first Spider-Man game, so I'm gonna rapid fire some more levels. Alright, so the level with bombs isn't bad. Next level, you're just battling the Goblin's Razor Bats. It's not hard or bad, it's just that they could have made this a side objective during a Goblin battle instead of giving it its own level. You would think they would use their resources wisely, but nope, not here. This next level is... oh no. Finally, some repressed childhood trauma. This level... oh, I hated this level so much as a kid that I refused to beat this game until... I don't know, probably a few months later. Do you remember when I popped a gasket playing a level where the stealth was optional? Well, guess what? Now it's not optional. It is the objective. Triggering the alarm makes the level much more difficult than it needs to be, so needless to say, I'm using a cheat code to skip this. Same thing as the last one. It's the same level, but now it's more annoying, so I'm skipping it. Oh wow, that's a pretty cool robot. Okay, I'll play this one. However, seeing that I haven't played those breaking and entering levels in over a decade, I'm lacking the context for why Oscorp built a cool giant robot in the first place. I always liked the Jekyll and Hyde inspiration in the movie, where it seemed like Norman Osborn was a good guy until he took that serum. In the game, the serum just gave him super strength and didn't make him insane. He's already insane. And I love it. In the next level, breaking out of Oscorp is easier than breaking in. Alright baby, here we are. It's the final conflict with the Green Goblin. Now, first, we have to save Mary Jane. Or not, just for funsies. The final battle with the Green Goblin has everything you need for a good climax. The Goblin has set the bridge on fire. The Goblin music is great. The ambiance is fantastic. And it's over in a minute. At the end of the game, while Spider-Man makes out with Mary Jane over the corpse of his best friend's dad, he says the one line that ends the game better than any other line ever can.
Complicated. Looks like you're done now. Go outside and play.
I can't do that, Spider-Man. I'm not free yet. Well, that's the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie tie-in game. There's a few good bonuses, like if you beat the game on its hardest difficulty, you can play as the Green Goblin. No, not just some lousy skin, but the actual Green Goblin, glider and pumpkin bombs and all, baby. Unfortunately, I'm not done talking about this game. You see, when I was in the middle of my Spider-Man 3 hype days, I was following all the news I could about the Spider-Man 3 video game because... wait, why would I do that? But anyways, all those years ago, when they said that Kraven the Hunter would be in Spider-Man 3, a little thing called Wikipedia said that this wouldn't be Kraven's first appearance in the Spider-Man games, as he was in the first game. Well, now you're probably wondering, where the heck was Kraven and all that? Well, I'll just say, let me finish what I was trying to say, you stupid bitch. Kraven was in the Xbox port of the game. And honestly, that's the most Activision thing I've ever heard. I can picture it now. Treyarch was working on this game. It's almost done. And Bobby Kotick kicks down the door and says, "Hey, Microsoft just dropped a wheelbarrow full of $100 bills on my driveway. Cut out these 2 levels and make them exclusive to the Xbox." So, after a quick trip to eBay, I got me a copy of Spider-Man for the Xbox, because while I might have liked Shocker as a kid, I've liked Kraven as a kid. And I still do. Hell, he's probably just one of my favorite villains altogether. Kraven's Last Hunt is one of my favorite comic book stories. I would gladly pay $10 to experience these 2 levels. Unfortunately, $10 got me the most disgusting copy of this game I could find. I'm pretty sure that's mold. But it'll all be worth it when I get to experience Kraven the Hunter. Huh, this game's not backwards compatible with the Xbox Series X. Shit. Well, I gotta make a choice. Go to the retro game store that's an hour and a half away to get an Xbox, or go to the store about 12 miles away that I almost got stabbed at while some guy was stealing an Xbox Series S. And let me tell you, getting stabbed while crouching down to look at GameCube games kept behind the counter is not how I want to die. Alright, so the further game store didn't pick up my calls, and they didn't have an Xbox. I got Paper Mario, so I didn't leave empty-handed. But now I gotta go to this scary store. Hi, Mr. Xbox. Good news, Scary Store wasn't that scary today. There was just a disheveled-looking man standing outside, still as a statue for about 20 minutes. But I live though, baby. But turns out the Xbox's disk drive doesn't work, so now I gotta return it. Alright, so I bought that first Xbox knowing they had 2 Xboxes in stock. Turns out they sold that second Xbox in the time of me getting home and driving back. I still returned it and got my money back. Unfortunately, only store I can be guaranteed to find retro games at is on the border of Indiana. That's a long-ass drive. Well, I got my Xbox. Unfortunately, it has all these stupid decals on it, so I'm gonna rip them off. In fact, before that, I'm just gonna censor them because they just look that fucking stupid. I know what you're wondering. Was it worth it to waste all of this time? Well, with this video, I'm officially a YouTuber now, and wasting my time and money is funny. Alright, first red flag with this Xbox. There's no audio, so now I'm gonna have to guess what's going on. You've heard of blind playthroughs, right? Well, guess what? This is a deaf playthrough. Alright, I can easily make an educated guess here that Norman Osborn hires Kraven to kill Spider-Man. Honestly though, this cutscene with Kraven, pretty badass. Maybe I'm a little biased because I like Kraven, but this was just so cool. Why can't the rest of the game be like this? Oh snap, it's J. Jonah Jameson. Since I can't hear him, I can pretend that this is a voice actor doing his best J.K. Simmons impression ever. Hell, maybe this is J.K. Simmons. Who knows? I can't hear shit. Alright, I don't need no sound to know that green gas equals poison. So I guess I'm gonna have to find the antidote before I fight Kraven. Honestly, going through Kraven's death maze? Pretty cool actually. I don't even mind that it's indoors. Then, there's a scene where Kraven's watching you through the crosshairs of a scope. I love it! Or, do I only love it because I've wasted so much time trying to play 2 levels in a game that isn't even that good to begin with, and I only want to like it because I feel like I have to like it? Yeah, it's probably just me, realizing that half my day was wasted for this! Anywho, we finally get to the boss battle, and honestly, looks pretty sick. Looks like Kraven has spider-proofed this arena, and I have no idea what I'm doing, so I promptly get my ass kicked. Oh well, there's always next time. Next time. So, turns out right after I died, I tried to restart the level and the game just went to a black screen and wouldn't respond. Then there was some smoke coming out of that Xbox and yeah, I just don't think the universe wants me to own an original Xbox. But hey, I got the footage I needed. So, what do I think of the original Spider-Man game after replaying it? Well, now that I own 2 copies of this game, I never want to play it again. Not because it's god-awful, but because I have some very cherished childhood memories while playing this game. And quite frankly, this playthrough right now has absolutely tarnished all of those memories. It's an adaptation of one of my favorite movies at the time. As a jaded adult, I see the flaws in this, but as a kid, damn, this was so cool. We played that stupid bowling minigame, we played the stupid Fight Club minigame. Playing this game, I was made a slave of nostalgia, but at the same time, even nostalgia can't blind me. This game is bad, but I don't want to think of it as bad, especially now that I own 2 copies of it. I don't want to think of this as a bad game, though it's getting pretty tempting. I think it's just best to leave it alone and at least cherish my childhood memories of when I thought this game was amazing. You know what game is amazing though? Spider-Man 2, baby. The movie, the game, doesn't matter. I love it. I love everything about it. We always talk about games we wish we could play again for the first time, and this is one of them. As a kid, I thought this was just gonna be like the first game. Play some linear levels where your webs just shoot up to space itself as you just hover over small little sections of the city and not be able to touch the ground. Or you die. Yeah, you still die if you hit the ground, but you have to hit the ground pretty hard if you want to die though. I never actually saw any advertisements for this game when I was a kid. I just knew a Spider-Man 2 movie just came out, so clearly a game had to be available too. And I was right. So when I played the tutorial and I saw that you were actually able to, swing around and look cool while doing it. I can go around the whole city. I can actually go down to the streets of New York. My mind was blown. Now, I didn't have a PS2 or Xbox growing up, so I didn't have those Grand Theft Auto games everyone else was playing where open world free roam was becoming the norm. No, this was my experience, and it was great. Hell, look at this tutorial. They got Bruce Campbell, and he's actually being funny.
So the next thing I want you to do is jump off the building. I mean it, just jump. Hey, I wouldn't tell you to do something dangerous and life-threatening, would I? Come on.
I mean, he's being funny to me. So unlike the last game, I won't go through a level-by-level breakdown, because since this is an open world game, it's all about fighting crime and getting enough hero points to start the next story chapter. First things first though, this game is well polished. No bugs to be found. Games back then, they're just better than games made today. Yep, no bugs. Not a single bug. Not one. Only bug here is Spider-Man. Okay, fine, maybe there's a few bugs, and it's not enough to ruin the experience though. The way the game's progression works is you find a citizen in need and they'll tell you about crimes happening several blocks away. Carjackings, armored truck heists, shootouts, sometimes there's an ambush. Sometimes you have turf wars to deal with where rival gangs are just fighting in the streets, muggings, break-ins, etc., etc. But the worst one is probably the kids losing their balloon. These are terrible. So it goes like this. Sometimes a kid will lose their balloon when you're in the middle of literally any other predicament, and by the time you get there, the balloon has flown up too high, so I just like to pop the balloon, just because I hate this side mission. Yeah, eat shit, kid. Welcome to the real world. In fact, there's actually a level in the Ultimate Spider-Man game where the team must have heard that nobody likes the balloon side missions, so they have you play as Venom and actually have you brutally murder a child who loses a balloon. Ultimate Spider-Man doesn't mess around. Let's talk about the story now. Can I just say, I like this game because it actually feels like an adaptation of Spider-Man 2. Look at the first game. Yeah, it has the same name as the movie, there's a few story beats from the original movie, but it just feels like a Spider-Man game starring Tobey Maguire and Willem Dafoe. But Spider-Man 2, the game, truly feels like Spider-Man 2, the game. The game, however, doesn't feature a subplot where you lose your powers for half the game, but instead has a subplot that's reportedly taken from a previous draft of the Spider-Man 2 script, where Black Cat helps fuel the identity crisis Peter has, where he feels like he has to choose between being Peter Parker or Spider-Man. Okay, I think I'm getting ahead of myself here. You get some hero points and play some story missions, and then you can fight some cool boss battles, like Rhino. As a kid, I always thought he was pretty difficult. Again, don't trust anything that young me had problems with. He was a moron. Only reason why I got hurt here was because I got cocky. Speaking of boss fights, let's talk about combat. So first thing young me was baffled by was the removal of the kick button. At first I was like, whoa, pump the brakes, Treyarch. You can't just remove an integral part of combat. But after playing the first game about 5 minutes ago, was it really integral? No, not in the slightest. Instead, the game added a dodge button. When your head flashes, that's your Spidey sense, so press the dodge button, you moron. I just like that they actually made Spidey sense an actual mechanic in this game. It was used in like 2 missions in the last game. The combat in this game just feels so brutal. I never really harped on the first game's combat because it's not interesting, nor is it flashy at all. Punch, 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 guy groans and disappears. Fascinating. Spider-Man 2, however, boy howdy. I look at the Insomniac Spider-Man games and I think, wow, last person I'd ever want to fight is Insomniac Spider-Man. But when you throw a fool off a building, they're miraculously saved by a web stopping their fall. In regular combat, it looks like those men are going to be spending some time in the hospital before getting sent off to prison. But at least they're still alive. In Spider-Man 2, I don't know if a single one of these criminals survived their fights with Spider-Man. It's a known fact in Spider-Man lore that Spider-Man pulls his punches because if he's going all out, he can literally knock your head clean off your shoulders. Every other Spider-Man game feels like he's pulling those punches. But not Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 Spider-Man is someone that would make Batman vs. Superman's Batman blush. This game just gives you so many opportunities to either paralyze these criminals from the neck down, or just kill them. Chuck them off skyscrapers, throw them into the ocean where it doesn't look like they know how to swim because they never emerge. You see, my favorite is just beating down a group of thugs, and then grabbing the last one standing, swing to the highest rooftop I can find, and wow, I need some therapy. But anyways, I like to chuck them off the roof while laughing maniacally. That and how the ragdoll effects work in this game. That you could just keep beating the corpses after they've been thoroughly beaten down. Yes, I refer to them as corpses because again, I refuse to believe that these guys survived a fight with this Spider-Man. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I need to get back to talking about the story. So like I said, unlike the first game, the second game actually tries to tackle the same beats of the movie, specifically Peter's dilemma, etc., etc. He's talking about how he can't make times for his friends and family.
I wish I could tell Harry and MJ the truth, but how could I? Harry's dad was the Green Goblin. How could I tell him that?
Well, I mean, you can at least tell Harry that Mary Jane was making out with Spider-Man as Norman lay dying. Which is of course where Black Cat comes in, acting as the force that tries to convince Spider-Man to give up being Peter Parker, while Peter wants to give up being Spider-Man to be with his friends. Again, good substitute for a plotline where you lose your powers for half the game. Oh wait, hold on a minute. Of course, along the way you battle Rhino, Mysterio. Holy hell, look at Mysterio's health bar.
Wait, what?
Whoa, that was sick, dude. You rock so hard, Spidey.
Huh, never mind. At least Mysterio's shtick in this game is having a few good missions. Saving the Statue of Liberty and going into his weird-ass funhouse fighting those mirror Spider-Man clones will always be top-tier entertainment. Then, of course, Shocker's back, baby! Yeah, so there's this level where you have to complete in a contest against Quentin Beck, just absolutely brutalizing prison inmates. After you beat it, you actually get to see Shocker escaping from prison. How swell. I think after replaying this game, I realized it's actually Spider-Man 2 that made me like Shocker, because remember how I talked about how Shocker's boss battle in the last game being lame because the environment sucked? Well, in this game, you don't just battle Shocker once, you battle him twice, and you get to fight him in a warehouse that gives you plenty of room to move around and show that he can actually be a pretty cool opponent. Then you fight him in this Oscorp lab, and that's pretty cool. But of course, what's a video game based on Spider-Man 2 without the man who truly makes Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 2? That's right, it's Mr. Aziz. It's nice seeing that pizza time is a beloved moment from both the movie and the game.
Pizza time.
Yeah, but no, it's Dr. Octopus. Alfred Molina's Dr. Octopus just rocks. Of course, they have Alfred Molina provide his voice and sort of likeness in this game. The same thing as Willem Dafoe in the last one. You get 2 levels where Doc Ock is just Otto. Then you get to play out the part where his experiment makes him go cuckoo. And you know what? I think we need to do something special here. Like I said, these are video games based off some of my favorite movies. Movies that feature some of my favorite movie moments as a kid. And scenes that stick out to me today. So I'm going to make a tier list. Not a tier list on how well the game adapts iconic moments from the movie, but based on how stupid and funny the scene plays out in the game. For instance, Norman Osborn turning into the Green Goblin. Total A tier, based entirely on this 2002 Willem Dafoe model doing this. Green Goblin's death scene. That's in a league of its own. 2 seconds after death, and a couple teenagers start making out over your corpse. Doc Ock's wife dying. S tier based entirely on the fact that it happens and gets brushed off so quickly. Also, we get to see this guy get clocked by this light. Anyways, I remember this scene giving me a lot of trouble as a kid. One attempt later, I guess if you ever hear me say, well, this scene gave me trouble as a kid, just understand that this means I'm a better gamer now than I was back in the day because young me was a moron. Anyways, Dr. Octavius is now Dr. Octopus, and we'll be dealing with him for the rest of the game. Well, until we get to Shocker again, but hey look, Aunt May's only appearance in the entire trilogy. Oh look, another moment for the tier list, Doc Ock's bank robbery. It's a high A tier, because I just like how the game has Doc Ock finding these henchmen, said henchmen walking around with grenade launchers attached with bayonets. That's just silly. Anyways, you're probably thinking Doc Ock is going to be a very difficult enemy. Yeah, that's the funny part, he's not. As a kid, I never had trouble fighting Doc Ock. After all, he doesn't have the terrifying titty twister of terror. Anyways, after beating him in the bank, he gets into a helicopter. With those arms? Man, Treyarch heard that in the movie Doc Ock captures Aunt May and just rolled with it. You gotta admire that. That's just silly. Anyways, let me just get to the... Oh. Helicopter rotors are dangerous. Just let me make a mental note of that. Helicopter rotors? Death. Anyway, with Aunt May dead, I just have to ask, why would they give Doc Ock this scene where he throws Aunt May onto the train tracks when they know the big climactic battle against him also takes place on a train? Oh, excuse me again. Shit, I missed. You little bitch. God, I love being a sociopath. Of course, as we get into the final stretch of the game, we have to get to the point where Black Cat and Spider-Man's relationship is at its peak. And then we have to do the most difficult part of the game. When I mean the most difficult part of the game, I don't mean something that only stupid young me thinks is hard. Help, I've been pressing the dodge button for 20 minutes. Tell my mom I'm going to have to skip dinner tonight. After this, Peter finally realizes he can balance his life of being Peter Parker and Spider-Man. And then we get to the climax. Oh boy, another opportunity to be a bastard. Oh shit, I actually got it.
Back at ya.
I mean, I guess I might as well
Try to
give it
hang
to him.
on to it.
Say thank you.
Actually felt pretty nice. Again, time to get back to the tier list here. Doc Ock throwing the car at Peter and MJ. C tier. It's nowhere near as interesting, and they don't do anything to make it silly. Peter stopping the train. High A tier, because in the movie, he has to do so much to get this train to stop. In the game, it's just these two webs and Tobey Maguire just half-assing some groaning in the studio. Yeah, the fight scene with Doc Ock on the train. Ridiculously easy, which is unfortunate because it was such a great moment in the movie. Oh snap, back to the tier list already. Harry finding out Peter's identity. A tier. Geez, everything's an A tier or higher, but this is great just because Harry's upset about finding out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man for a total of 2 seconds. After that, it's just all water under the bridge. That's just silly.
Don't worry, MJ. I'll get you out of here.
The final fight with Doc Ock is delayed until I do what you had to do to stop Doc Ock's experiment last time. Except it's a little more difficult now because now you can fall into water and instantly die. Oh, and you have Doc Ock with a shield chasing you the whole time too. Okay, now say it with me, folks. I had trouble beating this part as a kid. But no, seriously, this gave me so much trouble as a kid due to the factors that I just mentioned. In fact, I didn't actually beat this until several months later after I got to this point because I broke my leg and literally had nothing else to do with my time. That being said, here's my first attempt doing this just now. I'll just say, young me is justified in not being able to beat this. Alright, so here's the final battle against Dr. Octopus. In case you didn't realize the strategy to beating him, it's dodge and web his octopus arms to the wall or floor, then beat him as he ragdolls around on the floor. After that, congrats, you beat the game. Alright, time to get back to the tier list. Everything about Doc Ock's final moments in the movie is cinematic gold. The way Peter convinces Otto to take control of his arms by calling back to Otto's speech earlier in the film. It's not revolutionary, a million films did the same thing before, but as a kid, this scene was the greatest scene in cinematic history. The way Otto sacrifices himself, the way he proclaims that he won't die a monster, the somber moment of watching him sink to the bottom of the river with his experiment. It's all so good. So now you're wondering, how is that handled in the game? Let's watch the entire scene. No commentary, just this.
What have we done? What have I done?
Dr. Octavius, we have to stop that reactor before it's too late.
This is bad.
There's only one thing to do. Get the young lady out. I'm sorry, Peter. You weren't to blame for the accident. My hubris, my vanity cost Rosie her life. Now I must set things right.
Hang on.
You know how I put Norman's death in its own tier? This is even better! It's like Treyarch told their developers that this video file can't be more than 90 seconds long, and just ran with it. It's hilarious. I don't care if it misses every point of the movie's final moments. This is fantastic! Anyways, that's Spider-Man 2. Doesn't have any decent unlockable rewards like the last game, but what are you gonna do? All in all, Spider-Man 2, easily one of my favorite games as a kid. What about my favorite game as an adult? I don't know, of course not. This isn't like the last game where it didn't age well. No, I think Spider-Man 2 ages quite well. Maybe you might disagree, but I don't know. I played through this game with a big stupid grin on my face for most of the time I was playing, because I still think it works out very well. Unlike the first game, I'll probably find myself playing this game again in a few years when I have the sudden desire to play it. Big step up from the last game where I just couldn't stop complaining. Unfortunately, this is the peak of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movie tie-in games. It's all downhill from here.
Somehow, though, having her with me makes that burden lighter. Still, in the end, it's mine to bear. After all, there's still only one Spider-Man.
Spider-Man 3, aka that one. Like I said, I was obsessed with the Spider-Man 3 hype. When I was a kid, I got Spider-Man on VHS because my family wasn't cool enough to own a DVD player yet. But 2004, we got a DVD player and we hooked it up in the living room and we all just watched DVDs together all the time. However, as Spider-Man 2 was about to release on a home video, they were hyping up the DVD release. Next thing you know, my parents were listening to me that entire holiday season saying, "Mom, Dad, Spider-Man 2 on 2-disc DVD with 10 hours of bonus features. I need it." So after my parents realized that if I got Spider-Man 2 on 2-disc DVD with 10 hours of bonus features, I'd probably be watching that on my family TV every waking moment. So, Christmas 2004, I opened up my presents, a copy of Spider-Man 2 on 2-disc DVD with 10 hours of bonus feature, and a DVD player for my bedroom. Would have been more cost effective if they would have gotten me a PS2 or an Xbox, but I can't complain. Believe me, I watched every bonus feature this movie had, and of course, I had to put the DVD into my computer because the box advertised the Spider-Man 3 countdown. Apparently, it was confirmed that Spider-Man 3 would release on May 4th, 2007, even before Spider-Man 2 made it to theaters. But I didn't know that, so I put the disc in my computer, and lo and behold, Spider-Man 3 releases on May 4th, 2007, and it was counting down from that day, and this countdown ruined my life. So at first I was bouncing off the walls because Spider-Man 3 was releasing in 2.5 years, which must have been amazing for my parents to hear after hearing me say Spider-Man 2 on 2-disc DVD with 10 hours of bonus features over and over again. Now a day later, they heard me shouting Spider-Man 3 releases on May 4th, 2007 over and over again. 2005 came and went without me really talking about Spider-Man 3. I mean, it didn't come out for another 2 years. I wasn't going to be that annoying that I'd be dancing around for this movie for that long. 2006 came around though, and that was much different because then they released the teaser trailer that didn't show much except for a shot of Sandman, an out-of-focus picture of Harry as the Green Goblin, and a picture of Topher Grace as Eddie Brock. But that was enough to make me the most annoying son of a bitch you'd ever meet for the next year. I wasn't just excited for the movie. Remember, I loved the game too. So when I saw that Activision released a forum specifically for the Spider-Man 3 video game, I just had to sign up. But yeah, I just soaked up so much information about this game, and everything about it just looked so amazing. I remember them showing off what was called Cineractives. So the idea was, it was a cutscene, but you could control it. You determine if Spider-Man lives or dies in the cutscene, and that's so cool. In case you didn't realize, these are just QuickTime events with stupider names. It's really funny though, I don't typically follow the release of video games, especially today when it could take like years for a game that's been showed off to be released, but back in the day, there was one other game I followed religiously from its announcement to a release. Hey, at least I can attest to Smash Bros. Brawl being a quality product. I remember a month before the movie came out, the novelization came out, and I read the entire thing in an afternoon and I thought, wow, this is gonna be the movie event of the year. Needless to say, the movie being a gigantic meh was the biggest shock to young me. However, the one thing that definitely hurt my Spider-Man 3 hype train was playing the game 1 week before the movie came out. As you can see, it came with a ticket for a showing of Spider-Man 3, so at least some good came out of this game. You see, the day I popped this game into my Wii, I learned a terrible secret. The secret that the Xbox 360 and PS3 were much more powerful consoles than the Wii could ever dream of. Yeah, I never saw a trailer for how the game was going to look on the PS2 and Wii. I just saw the 360 and PS3 trailers and said, wow, this is the gaming event of 2007. In reality, this was the first time I ever said, I wish I had an Xbox 360 or a PS3. Okay, let's get to this game. Well, the opening cutscene doesn't look too bad, but of course at the time, I had no idea this was just a PS3/360 cutscene downscaled. So, as you can see by the screen, combat is done by wiggling the Wiimote a few times and then pressing A. Man, this game has a terrible first impression. Mostly when you try to web up an enemy and see just how pathetic this looks. 5 minutes in, and I hate how everything feels. I'm not even saying this as someone who hates Wii motion controls. I didn't really like Wii games. It's not a horrible console. At its best, you forget you're even swinging control around. At its worst, it's clunky and unresponsive. And let me tell you, this is it at its worst. Just playing this tutorial mission made me say, we can end this segment on Spider-Man 3 right here. But like I said, I'm a YouTuber now. Wasting my time is a trade secret. Let's look at the web swinging. Yeah, it's not great. This game should have made Spider-Man 2 look like a game for dumb babies. I don't even feel like I'm in control. I'm left-handed, so I switched the game to left-handed mode just because I figured that was my problem. But no, when you swing a web, it feels like it's throwing you in a completely opposite direction. Can you imagine Spider-Man swinging around the city, not being able to control where he's going? That's not what Spider-Man is. You should have been able to lose countless hours of your life swinging through New York City, feeling like Spider-Man. But I don't feel like Spider-Man, I just feel sad. I'm not swinging around the city because it's fun. I'm swinging around the city because I need to get to the next mission. At least there's great fall damage like in Spider-Man 2, so you could actually, have some fun while playing this game. You guys couldn't even get that right. Alright, fuck it, let's talk about this disaster. At least some cutscenes are an absolute disaster piece, so there's that. Yep, play Spider-Man 3 for the sole purpose of seeing some characters being animated in Gmod. But man, this combat is so bad. I like the last game where you had such great web-based attacks. In Spider-Man 3, I realized Spider-Man is less spider and just man because I never used the fucking webs.
I've got to keep them away from the bomb. If they activate it, this will be a short adventure.
Don't threaten me with a good time. Oh man, here comes the iconic giant lizards cutscene. I can't wait. Wait, where's the Wonk? There's no Wonk! Is this a cutscene made exclusively for the Wii and PS2? We didn't even get the great giant lizards freak out. This game sucks. Wanna know what my nightmare is? Web swinging through Central Park.
Is it cool to say up, and away? Man, am I glad to see you.
Oh boy, I wish I could put ads on this so I could cut to an ad right now to break the tension. Do I want to talk about this game for the next 10 minutes? No, not really, but I guess I'm morally obligated to at this point. Less than an hour in, we get our first boss battle against the Green Goblin. I mean Harry, and the lame name they give him in the movie.
Like father, like son, Peter. I guess you wouldn't understand that.
Okay, this game sucks, but that's a legitimately good burn right there. Well, I was actually waiting for a boss battle with Harry. After all, I love the Green Goblin in the first game, so naturally, the entire boss battle is a quick time event. I mean, a Cineractive. It's over in about a minute in the lamest way. Right after the boss battle, we finally get back to the tier list. D tier. This cutscene sucks. They even mention Sandman being Uncle Ben's real killer. Yet, we have this clip of Peter rolling around in bed, being upset that he let Uncle Ben's killer go. D tier. You know, at least they don't take too long to give you the symbiote suit. Okay, let's talk about the symbiote suit. It's not bad. In fact, it's the only thing that makes combat interesting, because trust me, it's legitimately overpowered as it should be, and you're gonna be able to get it through combat much quicker. So there's that. They give it to you so early because you can take off the suit whenever you want, because unfortunately while the symbiote suit is fun, they make it so having too much fun with that suit causes you to die. Fun. Another effect the symbiote suit has is the longer you wear it, the more it poisons the world. The city gets shittier as long as you use it. Not that it makes a difference, because even when you're not wearing it, the city still looks like shit. After this, we get to the part where the people behind this game said, wait, why do we put Carlisle the Mad Bomber in this game? No one knows who the hell that is, and decided that this would be the level where you beat him in. Only upside is, J. Jonah Jameson is weirdly enough heavily included in this level, so we at least get some J.K. Simmons. Yes, this game actually has J.K. Simmons. So how does the boss battle against Carlisle go? Not well, even the game was bored with this guy. But hey, at least we get the lizard now. He's finally here. Was it worth it? What do you think? So this is the part of the game where they start including big enemies that require different strategies to beat them. I only mention them because I feel like I have to say something right now. This game is so bland and boring, there's nothing to talk about. But hey look, we got Kraven! I just gotta say, funny how Spider-Man just straight up says that he knows who Kraven is, despite the fact that I don't think anyone who played the game on the Wii has ever played it on the Xbox. Can you imagine only owning one copy of Spider-Man? Oh, where'd that come from? We immediately get a terrible section where you have to do this god-awful web swinging as fast as you can, and Spider-Man makes 2 drill puns in 0.5 seconds, and my mental health is deteriorating.
Move it, Spidey. This is not a drill. Well, actually it is. Faster, Spidey. You know the drill.
We finally get to the lizard boss battle, and it's interesting because they put goo all over the walls so you can't crawl on walls. Doesn't mean I was going to do any wall crawling in this boss battle, because as you can see by the fact that I haven't wall crawled on anything in the entirety of my Spider-Man 3 footage, wall crawling is slow and clunky, so no big loss for me. Anyways, lizard escapes. There's still 3 hours left of this game. After fighting gangs for... Holy crap, you actually have to fight these gangs for like 30 straight minutes? Anyways, we finally get a continuation of the Lizard and Kraven storyline. You know, as much as I like Kraven, I'm not really excited for this fight, but here we are. I never finished the boss battle against Kraven in the first game, as we all know by now, but don't worry, I know how to beat Kraven here. Wag your Wiimote until he drinks his potion and just lets himself wear himself out while dealing with these gang members that have no relation to Kraven in the slightest.
Looks like hunting season's over.
Hey, I'm sure Kraven can get out of that. Okay, just walk away, I guess. Great hero. Now we fight the Mega Lizard. Yeah, Dr. Connors just turned himself into the Mega Lizard. I know, thrilling, ain't it? Only Spider-Man 3 can make a giant lizard fight seem so boring. Only interesting thing to happen here recently are these Wii exclusive cutscenes where you talk to Dr. Connors a few times. They're interesting because remember how you can take off the black suit in the Wii edition? Well, when you take the suit off, you'll have scenes of Peter acting like this.
Maybe I should have taken a nap when you needed my help. I didn't mean that, Doc. This thing's just got me on edge.
His condition is worsening. If we can't cure him, he'll die. You have to get his wife here.
Don't give me orders. Sorry.
Please.
And it's just funny when it happens because this is supposed to be the good Spidey suit, but he's still acting like a jerk. Wow, I'm really bored of this game if I find this interesting. But of course, after beating the Lizard and Kraven, we get into our next boss subplot, where we get this sweet cutscene, which is peak Jameson.
Parker, we need vampire photos now! Give me a shot of Spider-Man in the vicinity, the story writes itself.
Spider-Man? How's he part of this?
Way I see it, he is until somebody proves he's not.
When we finally get to our next boss battle, it's... oh no, it's
Morbin time.
Yeah, the rest of the world was introduced to Morbius thanks to memes about the Morbius movie bombing. I was introduced to Morbius through Spider-Man 3 for the Wii. That's not a good thing. Yeah, so the game for the Wii and PS2 lack Scorpion, Rhino, and Kingpin as boss battles, but in return get Morbius and Shriek, both good villains featured in lame Sony spin-off Spider-Man movies. Okay, you know what? Before we get to the final chunk of the game, I just need to talk about how this game controls, because after playing it for only about 2 hours now, I can accurately describe how I'm feeling. This combat is horrible. Why is it horrible? Because it's repetitive and mind-numbing, but not at the same time. As I look at something like Spider-Man 2, or hell, even Insomniac Spider-Man, the combat isn't exactly the second coming of Christ. They're both essentially the same. Dodge, and then spam the attack button. I think you can describe just about any other game you love like this, but there's just something that makes everything feel substantially worse when you're just sitting there wagging this Wiimote like an idiot, then hitting the A button. I imagine if I was playing this on the PS2, I wouldn't be talking about this that much, but like everyone has said before, if the Wii's motion controls aren't up to snuff, then you're gonna have unresponsive controls. Holy shit, Morbius just murdered that woman. Anyways, the Morbius boss battle was easy. I was just kind of under the influence to get the gist of what I was supposed to do, so I'll take the blame here. So now I have to find Morbius's wife, Shriek. You know, it's funny, Shriek isn't a bad villain in the comics. She's quite popular. She's had a few great storylines. And in any other time, Shriek as a villain in a Spider-Man game sounds awesome. That being said, unfortunately she's in Spider-Man 3, and she doesn't do this game any favors. Though I will say, Shriek leads to the only part of this game that I truly enjoy. You see, once you progress in the story, you're required to fight Morbius and Shriek at the same time. Once you beat Morbius, you have to battle Shriek, and she uses her powers to play tricks with your mind, and now you have to attack your loved ones. Dr. Connors taunts you about how you almost killed him. Mary Jane taunts you by talking about how dating you puts a target on her back, and that she has to deal with the stress of worrying about you dying in battle every day. Harry taunts you by reminding you of how you killed his father and lied about it. All legitimate reasons for Peter to stress out about. And then there's J. Jonah fucking Jameson.
This hurts you half as much as you've hurt me, Peter.
You're fired!
10 out of 10. Best sequence in this game. It's legitimately good. It's the only part worth talking about. Immediately after this fight, we get a really bad Sandman boss battle. It's at this moment I completely forgot that this was a Spider-Man 3 game. Damn, they actually waited until the last half hour of this game to make this game Spider-Man 3. Okay, so this boss battle isn't really bad. By this point of the game, Peter doesn't want to use the black suit anymore. But of course, Sandman is pretty strong, so at some point, he's forced to use it and he's not allowed to take it off. This boss battle is actually pretty good because it just permanently puts you in a rage mode and you just get to go all out and just smash the A button and it's over pretty quickly. It's sad when the only good part of this game is when it basically tells you that you don't have to play it by the rules anymore. Just cheese it. Oh look, we can finally get back to the tier list. Okay, so this is a 3-part tier. Part 1, where Peter and Mary Jane's relationship falls apart. A tier. Yeah, it's not Spider-Man accidentally backhanding Mary Jane, but it's still pretty silly looking. Part 2, Eddie's transformation to Venom. B tier. It's just the same scene from the movie, but it's not the movie quality. No silliness involved, and that's a crime. Part 3, Venom recruiting Sandman. Yeah, it's an adaptation of how the scene originally played out in the script and not in the final film. B tier, just because it looks silly. I mean, look at Venom. Just the way he moves around, it makes me giggle. But luckily, we're here. The final battle. I give the location of the final battle an F tier just because the movie's climax took place in this skyscraper that's under construction. Looks like it would be a cool place to have a battle. Instead, you just fight in the lot in front of the building. Best part about this first fight with the Sandman is I got this glitch that was just mildly interesting. But then Harry shows up. I give this scene an S tier. In the movie, it's handled horribly with the butler that could have easily explained everything and avoided a good chunk of the conflict if he just gave this exposition dump earlier. In the game, we get this.
Harry! What are you doing here?
I realized that you didn't kill my father. The darkness that consumed him almost finished me too. But you never turned away from me. Even after everything I did, I had to. I realized that—
Is this who you're looking for?
Then we get a Venom battle with a time limit. Only legitimately difficult part because, again, time limit. Then of course you have these lousy controls. Now you have to battle the giant Sandman with the help of Harry. Well, he helps you by just dropping these explosive barrels for you. Do I even need to tell you how lame this is? But now we get to the all-time greatest tier list moment. The death of Harry Osborn. In the movie, it's like this big deal where Sam Raimi basically kicked down the door of the composer's office and said, "Hey, write the most melodramatic music you can think of." In a better movie, Harry's death would have been a tearjerker. But it's a movie that has Kirsten Dunst sing twice in it, so this death scene gets a half-assed "aww" from me. But how does the game handle it?
time to put the Sandman to sleep.
Harry!
Whoo! Triple S tier, baby! Just that half-assed Harry, and boom. That's how it's done. If you can't properly adapt something for the games, then you just gotta go all out and make something goofy. Anyways, now it's the final battle with Venom, where they just have this real banger playing for some reason.
Don't look so surprised. Did you really think I was just gonna stand there?
Literally, the only strat you need to know is to run from Venom when he does this little combo, then beat his ass. Then, it's time for the final tier of this game, Venom's death. S tier. It's a lame death, but it's worthy to have a lame death for a lame villain in a lame game. Hallelujah, Spider-Man 3 is over. So what do I think about this game? Well, like I said, I played the first Spider-Man game multiple times throughout my childhood. Spider-Man 2 was a game I come back to every now and then just because I think it's a fun little game. Spider-Man 3? This is the second time I've played it. I beat it once in 2007 and never touched it again. Just put it on my shelf and said, well, I probably won't play that again. Cut to 2023, and all I can say is, young me would be disappointed that I betrayed my beliefs and played this again. It's a bad game, but I'm not done with this video. Like I said, as I was following the news of this game, watching all the trailers, I was especially surprised when the game that I bought looked nothing like that. This was the first time I truly felt like I was ripped off. I initially lied to myself thinking that Spider-Man 3 was only bad because I played the inferior version. I didn't play what was advertised to me. Many years later, I decided to jump in and play the game that I was so hyped for. The game that whenever I saw a new trailer for, I'd say, wow! Spider-Man 3 Special Edition. I bought the Special Edition because, for one, brand new on Amazon was dirt cheap. $8 that I spent. That, and when I was following the hype, I had heard that in the Special Edition, you could play as the Green Goblin. You know how much I liked playing as the Goblin in the first game? Now I could play as him in Spider-Man 3? Pinch me, I must be dreaming. But yeah, I bought the Special Edition, because if I'm going to play Spider-Man 3, I'm going to play the Spider-Man 3 that was advertised to me. Unfortunately, this means I have to play the PS3. I don't like the PS3 that much. I know this is the era of when consoles updated all the time, but I liked how the Xbox 360 updated. The PS3 just constantly updates all the time, and the updates just interrupted everything. You just want to play a game, but nope, the PS3 needs to update. In fact, let's play this PlayStation 3 drinking game. Everyone take a drink every time the PS3 updates for any reason. Anyways, let's get to this game. I need something to wash out the taste of Spider-Man 3 for the Wii. Oh look, same cutscene, but this one isn't needlessly dark like the Wii edition. Now let's get to the combat. Oh dear, it's not better. On the bright side, you're not waggling a Wii remote around. Downside, nothing feels right. The combat feels soft and squishy. I don't know how else to describe it. It just doesn't feel like there's any impact to it. Oh god, what is this camera? What is this frame rate? My entire childhood was a lie. Wait. Maybe there's some redeeming factors. Hey look, unlike the Wii edition, this game actually has a lot more focus on the Cineractives. I finally get to see the real Cineractives in their glory.
Help! Please! Someone! I'm going to die!
Okay, honestly, that was pretty great. I'll make it a mission to intentionally fail every Cineractive at least once, because this is the only enjoyment I've gotten recently. So yeah, same cutscenes as before. Okay, I like that, gang. Gee, when these cutscenes aren't compressed for the Wii, you can actually see that they're much worse than you can think of. Well, let's do some web swinging. Oh god, this doesn't feel better. I mean, it's only better because I can just press a button instead of waving my hands around. Moving feels bad. Swinging feels bad. Combat feels bad. I'm starting to get a headache just looking at this game. This game was not ready for release. Okay, maybe this game has one redeeming quality over the Wii edition. Let's test fall damage. Fantastic. Kinda hard to control the camera as you're falling, but I can't complain about the impact. That is a solid splat. Wanna know what I can complain about? Progression. Remember how the Wii edition saved all of the Spider-Man 3 stuff for the very end? Well, here's how it works in the big boy consoles. Play 20 missions, and you unlock a mission that's actually relevant to the story. Does that sound bad to you? Because it is. Once you get a boss battle, well, what should normally be exciting moments are really, really bad. Every boss is just as spongy as anyone else. Probably worse than anyone else. You know how people call enemies who take too many bullets to kill in first-person shooters bullet sponges? That's what these guys are, but instead, they're sandbags. They just take too long to beat. It wouldn't be so bad if they were interesting at all. But like I said, combat lacks impact. You just hear the sound of a man punching his pillow, as there's no reaction to the beatings at all. Oh look, now I gotta fight Harry almost immediately after fighting the lizard. At least this is a real fight and not a Cineractive. Though I'll say, watching Harry bounce off the wall like this is funny. Well, now that I've beaten Harry, I can finally play as Harry. Finally, the moment I've been waiting for since 2007. Oh god, he's controlled with the 6-axis motion! How can this get any worse? He can't get off the glider? How am I supposed to fight anyone with this? This is horrible. How is this an incentive to spend more money on this game? Just when I thought they couldn't disappoint me more. Now we get to the Scorpion stuff and... Okay, this is what really bugs me about this game. How come Spider-Man 2 acknowledges that it's a sequel to the first game by directly referencing Vulture and having Shocker return as a boss fight? Meanwhile, Spider-Man 3 feels like it's ignoring the first two games completely when we have characters like Rhino and Scorpion coming back, and it's almost like this is the first time Spider-Man's ever met them. Is it because during Spider-Man 3's production, Sam Raimi really wanted to get the Vulture in the movie, to the point where they were actually about to sign Ben Kingsley on to play him until Sony really wanted Venom to show up instead? So this way they could just make this a separate continuity, where in the Spider-Man 3 video game featuring Vulture and not have it to directly mention that Spider-Man already fought him several times before, where he looks like a completely different human? Well, that would make sense if they didn't already have Kraven show up and have Spider-Man go, "Oh hey there, Kraven the Hunter from the Xbox port of Spider-Man, how's it hanging?" Hey, remember when I said now we get to the Scorpion stuff? I lied. Even though he shows up here, they still make you play several more gang missions until you unlock the next part of the story where you can actually deal with the Scorpion. What the hell is up with this game's progression? Speaking of these gang missions, let's just look at some of these great gameplay showcases. Anyways, we finally get back to the Scorpion stuff. This level tells you to be stealthy. After playing this game for a few hours and seeing how horrendous everything else plays, yeah, I'll just go beat up some guards. If stealth is optional in this game, then believe me, I'll take the other options. This level is just... I'll consider it one of the low points. The environment just looks bad. Combine that with the awful frame rate, which is funny because I love going back and playing Nintendo 64 games, so I should be used to this. But apparently, I'm not. I have never wanted to turn off a console mid-game more than I have right here. As I look back at the footage of these boss battles, I just have to post them without context, so you'll just have to look at this and say, what the hell is going on in this? It's at this moment I realize I'm only set for 17 missions out of 42 in this game. I hate life sometimes. Then we get to this segment of the boss battle. So like I said, these boss battles are nothing more than squishy punching bags who have no reaction to anything, so these fights go on for far too long than they ever needed to. Once you've finally chipped away at his health for 45 minutes, you take part in a Cineractive to control his tail so he can destroy these generators, and boy howdy, this is a nightmare to control. Okay, what happens if you don't destroy all the generators in the time you have to control Scorpion? Well, you get to chip away at his health yet again, and eventually get him back into one of them Cineractives. By the way, every boss battle ends with one of these, and they're not all bad, but due to the game's horrible frame rate, sometimes the timing for these are wonky. For instance, sometimes I like to purposely fail one of these just to see the outcome. Even then, I just fail once or twice on purpose. Every other time I fail, that's because the game just really likes to screw you over. It may seem like I'm rushing through talking about this game, but shut the hell up, I'm not! After playing through this whole game, this game is literally just Spider-Man takes on some gangs, guest starring some cool established villains. Just going through all the footage I got here, I gotta skim through so much footage where you're just taking out each gang. Now I will say one good thing about Spider-Man 3 on Wii. Doing missions to take on these numerous gangs is just something you do to pass time. At most, you gotta do a few of these missions before you get back to fighting the Lizard or Shriek. Spider-Man 3 for the PS3? No, you gotta do every mission. Then, take part in the worst boss fights in the game. No, the series, as each gang has you fight their leader in a needlessly, endlessly long boss battle. Literally, these bosses can wipe you with a single combo if they really wanted to, while you gotta give these guys everything you have. let me give you an example of how much time these take up. So I played Spider-Man 3 for 1 hour a day. Not bad. If I was a masochist, I could get 2 hours done a day. The day before all these gang missions, I had just beaten Scorpion on the bridge, and had been waiting patiently to continue that storyline. The day after fighting Scorpion, all I did, the entire playtime, was fight these stupid ass gangs. Just doing the most aggravating missions over and over and over again. At the end of this play session, however, I had finally gotten to the part of the game where you get the black suit. Okay, finally making progress. Now, unlike the Wii, instead of fighting these random gangbangers after getting the suit, we're fighting Sandman. So now that I've battled Sandman on both the Wii and the PS3, which boss battle is better? Well, the Wii consists of you dodging and knowing that your attacks do nothing against literal sand, so you have to wait for a train to pass at the right time and toss him in. But then you get the appeal of going into permanent rage mode where you just beat the living crap out of him. On the PlayStation 3, you're just beating the crap out of him, slowly chipping away at his health because, like I said, the boss fights aren't meant to be fun in this game. They're just here for you to make you question your sanity, and God forbid you get knocked off the platform, because you might get into the situation I got into where you're stuck dealing with the crappy controls and camera, so Sandman gets away. Fun! Also, these interactives are bad. Yeah, so the Wii is actually better in this case, weirdly enough. After beating Sandman, we finally get to Kraven the Hunter. Oh snap, even Calypso is here. She was a bonus boss battle in Spider-Man 2. I got no footage of her in that game because I didn't feel like playing through the boss rush mode for this video, but hey, she's here now. Okay, can I be honest with you all? I started recording footage of these Spider-Man games back in September 2022. That's right, I've been working on this video for over a year now, and it sure doesn't look like it. You see, I decided to make this specific video for my first video for YouTube because I've gotten into game collecting in the past few years, and like I said, these Spider-Man games were the only games that survived my old childhood game collection. I figured my first video should be about them. I played Spider-Man in a few hours. Spider-Man 2 took me about a day or two, but still not so bad. Spider-Man 3 for the Wii took me 3 days, but most of the gameplay was done in that third day. But when I got to Spider-Man 3 for the PS3, it broke me. This is legitimately the worst game I've ever played. Not saying it's worse than any other stuff the other people on YouTube have played, but it's the worst I've played. Bad video games aren't like bad movies. I love bad movies because it's like, what, 90 minutes and 2 hours of your life? Video games take more time. They are truly something else. I have nothing against anyone who can play bad video games a lot, but I just can't. My backlog is filled with acclaimed games that everyone and their mother have recommended to me to play. Sure, every now and then a Mass Effect Andromeda slips its way into my collection, but I guarantee you, if I grab any random game off my shelf, it'll be a game that'll make you go, ooh, that's good. Like, for example, shit! Listen, I try my best to avoid these games. When I play bad games, I get angry. And if I wanted to be the angry guy, I'd name myself Angry Ed. But I'm not angry, I'm dead. I died from alcohol poisoning. So after getting through 6 hours of this game, I was done. I was so done that I didn't even want to change a topic to anything else and start my YouTube channel a year ago, and hopefully by now have a decent audience. That's how much this broke me. Not just because it's a bad game, but it's something I was so excited for, and no matter how old you are, that's always going to get you down. So I stepped away from Spider-Man 3 on the PS3, and I decided to go on a journey of self-discovery, reflection. I did some meditating, and I got myself a PS5, baby. Yeah, I know, getting a PS5 in 2022 wasn't a big achievement. When I saw it available on Walmart.com, I jumped on it, thinking I wasn't going to be able to secure a console, when in reality, I seem to have bought it just as Sony was able to stabilize their stock problems, as now I see PS5s everywhere, and anyone who really wants one now has one. But anyways, my PS5 might have come with God of War Ragnarok. I didn't play that because I still need to get through God of War, and God of War 3, and God of War 2, and God of War. So instead of playing those games, I got myself a copy of Spider-Man Miles Morales. I even managed to throw in a few more dollars to get the Ultimate Edition, which came with Spider-Man Remastered, months before it was finally released separately.
I bet the Avengers never have bird poop missions.
Now, I only played an hour or two of Spider-Man for the PS4 when it came out, but I was busy back then. Now, I have too much time on my hands and played through this game in one day, and boy howdy, this game rocks. Sure, Peter's face is kind of silly looking in the remaster, but this is my favorite rendition of Peter Parker. These are my favorite renditions of Norman Osborn and Dr. Octavius. Man, I can't get enough of how we got Mayor Osborn before we ever became the Green Goblin. Man, I love how the game spends so much time making you love Otto before he becomes Doc Ock. Look, the boss battles are flashy. That's amazing. Look, even Shocker is cool in this game. Shocker! I can tell you right now that this isn't the best rendition of Spider-Man ever, but it's easily my, keyword, my favorite. Hell, I love it so much that it's the first game I've ever platinumed. Hell, I love it so much I'm playing it again on New Game Plus on Ultimate so I can get a few more trophies in. When Spider-Man 3 got me in the dumps, Insomniac Spider-Man helped me get back into the swing of things. Not only that, Spider-Man 2 is coming out soon, and it looks great. Look, Kraven's one of the big bads of the game. I have to buy this. I just bought 3 Xboxes just to fight him at once. This means I need to buy Spider-Man 2 on day 1. But now that it's dangerously close to coming out, I was suddenly inspired to finish Spider-Man 3. That's right, I am making sure I finish Spider-Man 3 before I play Spider-Man 2. And I still have several weeks to do so. But knowing how long it's taken me to get back into this, I wouldn't be surprised if this video came out after Spider-Man 2's release. That being said, let's do this. Let's finish this piece of shit. Okay, so unfortunately, I don't remember how to play Spider-Man 3. This wouldn't be so bad if it didn't feel like I was forgetting about several other mechanics that make the combat much easier. Especially now that I'm stuck fighting a boss battle right out of the gate. So I've lost against this, I don't know, Dragon Gang boss? I don't even remember the name of the gangs at all. I don't even think I have even said them out loud in this video. So I'm going to skip this one and see what the other missions I have left. Well, there's a Lizard and Kraven level. Let's do it. Oh look, immediately thrown into the Kraven battle. Unfortunately, Kraven's just like every other boss battle. Listen, I'm not going to say that the boss battles in the Insomniac games are exactly amazing, but at least they have some style and pizzazz to them. Spider-Man 3's just the same button mashing while holding down the shoulder button to dodge the attacks. Again, same kind of mechanics in the Insomniac games if you really want to get technical, but again, these games at least make the boss battles look more interesting than this. Which one of these would you rather play? This Kraven boss battle is 12 minutes long, and it consists of you just mashing the square button and an occasional dodge and heavy attack. Best part, I skipped the cutscene where you actually beat Kraven because I thought it was a Cineractive and instinctively started mashing the X button. Whoops! Then without even being able to catch your breath, you're suddenly thrown into the Mega Lizard boss battle. Apparently Calypso used her magic to make the lizard into Mega Lizard? Maybe it happened during that cutscene I accidentally skipped. Anyways, it's starting to become a habit for the boss battles in this game to be worse than the Wii edition somehow. Thankfully this wasn't 12 minutes long. It is 6 minutes though, and it's tedious as all hell. Well, I beat Lizard and Kraven. You know what this means? Battling more gangs. You know, these boss battles wouldn't be so bad if you didn't have wave after wave after wave of goons thrown at you. Okay, that's another gang taken down. Now off to a real mission. Just joking, still gotta beat that dragon guy that I skipped earlier. Man, I hate this game. Holy crap, I did it in one try this time. Still hate this game. Now that I've beaten all the gangs, I get to witness the gangs formally get arrested and try to, oh wait, that's a Kingpin. Yep, they escaped. Fun. Okay, fine. Now I gotta deal with the Kingpin. Okay, are we done? No, I gotta fight all those gang leaders again, at the same time. Okay, they're dead now. Can we get back to business? Second verse, same as the first. You know what's funny? Kingpin's one of the most prolific villains in the Marvel Universe. Just about everyone has had to deal with him at some point in time, so it's hilarious seeing just how they shrug him off in this game. At least when Kingpin's defeated so early in Insomniac Spider-Man, it's actually the catalyst for the entire plot of the game. Then get to a point where I find out I was supposed to be doing daily bugle missions to progress the story. Oh boy, please don't play this game. However, I'll just say, the way they handle Eddie trying to frame Spider-Man in this game is better than the Wii. Mostly because we get this amazingly emotional performance from Topher Grace as his Gmod model is flailing around.
Well, think again. I hit a bunch of cameras around here, and now I have an even better shot than I was planning. You punching me in the jaw and taking my camera. So thanks.
And that's it. Your time with the black suit is over. Wow, they rushed through that like how I'm trying to rush through this last chunk of the game. So now, we get the actual worst part of the game. Another lizard mission. But there's no lizard, just his hench lizards. And you gotta defend these dispensers that are dispensing the lizard cure from the hench lizards. Boy, let me tell you why this part is garbage. You see, as the lizards huddle around the dispenser trying to destroy it, you need to target specific lizards that are specifically attacking the dispenser. However, as you fight the lizards, Spider-Man will randomly attack a lizard that's nowhere near the dispenser. That's just how combat works here. I have to be absolutely careful not to go too crazy in combat where I'll end up flying in the opposite direction of where I'm supposed to be. I am specifically trying to stay by the dispenser to protect it, but the game has other plans. Let's count how many times I fail this.
I hope you don't remember any of this when you're transformed back. If you do, I'm really sorry.
This took me nearly 20 minutes. I hate this game. Now we finally get a conclusion to that damn Scorpion storyline that I started several hours ago. I hate this game. You have this part with these lasers. I hate this game. Well, now I have to fight Rhino, and you know what? At least Rhino has an excuse to shrug off 400 consecutive punches from Spider-Man. Doesn't make this boss battle any more tolerable, especially when you have to attack him from behind. I hate this game. This took 15 minutes. I hate this game. You know, last time I had a boss battle that had Rhino and Scorpion in it, it was much better. Here we are at the final battle. Only took 9 hours. Longer than every other Spider-Man game, and I've hated every second of it. Oh crap, according to my footage, there's still another hour of footage left. Can I get a yikes? At least a skyscraper here looks better on the PS3, and we're immediately starting off with Venom, and there's gonna be a lot of button mashing. So to weaken Venom, you have to find these stacks of pipes and destroy them to create a sound that'll weaken the symbiote. Good luck doing that, by the way, since Venom will strangle you with his web every time you walk 2 feet away from him. My first attempt took 10 minutes, and I ended up like this. I hate this game. Second attempt took 5 minutes, and I ended up like this. I hate this game. Third attempt went decently, but now I have to play as Harry. Oh boy. Remember how I said the hench lizards were the worst part of the game? Well, I meant that until we got here. Fighting Sandman as Harry, I'm pretty sure this violates the Geneva Convention in some way or another. First, the Cineractives. I forgot to mention that if you fail them, you actually lose a small chunk of health. If you lose a Cineractive enough times, you will die and have to start the whole fight over. Nothing about this fight is good. Even when Bruce Campbell does his best to give you a quick Goblin crash course, it's still not good enough because playing as Harry sounds cool on paper until you actually have to do it. Best part, I went through all the footage, and at no point during my first attempt did it ever tell me that holding the circle button lets you throw your bombs farther. Only after I wasted all this time and died did the game ever tell me this crucial information. I hate this game. After another 15 minutes of battling Sandman, say it with me, I hate this game. We get to the most painful part of the game. Yep, you see here, the sandstorm. You know, I've talked a lot of trash about the PS3 over the years, but man, this little guy deserves some praise for having to deal with this scene. You can just feel the PlayStation 3 saying, I can't do it, Captain, there's just too many particles. So now you can practically count the frames per second as you lose Cineractive after Cineractive. But luckily, when you do finish, we can finally get back to the tier list. Alright, we're going to see how this game handles Harry's death scene. Again, like I said, this game has a lot to live up to if it wants to be better than that scene. So, let's see how the PS3 handles this death. That was it. It was amazing. It goes up on top with the Wii edition. Man, for once, the PS3 and the Wii were on the same page here. Amazing. Still hate the game. Okay, so now here comes the second worst part of the game. Yes, the hench lizards just got bumped down another peg. This part is actually very simple. You only have to punch Venom a few times. How hard can that be? Kind of difficult, actually. First part is, you have this very small chunk of health, so it's very easy for Venom to just kill you with one combo. But what else is new? Once you actually land a few dozen hits on Venom, because seriously, he has this much health, but you still have to chip away at it. Anyways, you get the final Cineractive, and hopefully it's the last time I ever have to say Cineractive. It's the worst one too, because you have these sand particles just lowering the frame rate even more than before. So good luck with those lightning fast reflexes. And since your health is so low, failing the Cineractive means you gotta start over from when you have to pummel Venom again. Let's count how many times I failed this very simple task. 5 times. Pretty bad. But now we add Venom's death to the tier list. And it gets an S tier. It gets an S tier just for offing him like that. And it's finally over. I'm free. I'm free! So, what can I say now that I've beaten the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie tie-in games? Well, I can say I wasted too much time, that's for damn sure. Too much time indeed. The thing is, playing through the Spider-Man trilogy really shows you why these movie tie-in games just died. When the first 2 games came out, game development was not as difficult and time consuming. You were able to tell the story of the movies that you specifically bought these games for pretty well and were mostly well polished. Then we get to the PS3 and Wii. Now, the Wii and the PS2 port of this game were probably squeezed out pretty damn fast, but the PS3? It's clear Treyarch were rushed while making this. I gave this game a lot of shit, but I understand a few things about modern game development, and I can see why it looks like that, why it feels like this, and why it plays like this. Look at the Dark Knight video game. Exactly, there wasn't one, because it took too long to make and missed the release date for the movie. The Dark Knight was popular enough for them to possibly make the game a success if it did come out a year after the movie did, but they didn't want to take that chance. Spider-Man 3 had to come out on this release date. Considering how 90% of this game had nothing to do with the movie, I wouldn't be surprised if they spent the whole filming process just filling the game with these random gangs and the few other Spider-Man rogues that are featured in the game while shoving the Green Goblin, Sandman, and Venom in at the last moment. Hell, they probably made Venom's model long before Sony officially showed us what he'd look like out of fear of Treyarch leaking the design. Hence why the Venom in this game is buff as hell. This doesn't excuse the game for its poor quality, of course. A bad game is a bad game. Definitely shows us how this kind of game development wasn't a sustainable format. Hell, footage of the cancelled Spider-Man 4 Wii game was leaked onto the internet a few years back. Everyone knows Spider-Man 4 was hit with so many script rewrites that it was cancelled shortly after John Malkovich and Anne Hathaway were cast as the Vulture and Black Cat, knowing that Sam Raimi wouldn't make the 2011 deadline. Despite that, Spider-Man 4 the game was well underway, so it's just kind of funny that Spider-Man 4 the game made more progress than Spider-Man 4 the movie. Now that I've finally beaten Spider-Man 3 for the PS3, all I can say is, thank fuck it's over. Now time for the final contest. Which game is better, Spider-Man 3 for the Wii or Spider-Man 3 for the PS3? The Wii. Yeah, don't think anyone expected that, but at least with the Wii, Activision knew this game needed to be gimped for this GameCube with a magic wand. The PS3 has more content, more boss battles, but it looks like the textures were made during the game's alpha stage and were never updated. It runs like it needed a few more months of optimizing. It plays like it needed more QA testing. The Wii? Well, it's nothing to write home about, but at least it actually resembles a finished game.
You're a bum!
Like I said, now I'm free! Free to play anything else that has nothing to do with the Spider-Man movie. Oh, I'll tackle you little sons of bitches later.